All right, I'm giving it a few minutes for the people that are coming in. Hi, Brandy. How are you? Hi, Melissa. Hi, Delva. Hi, everyone. Let's see. Trying to make sure I can get both perspectives so I can see different questions. So we're just going to wait until everybody gets, you know, a little bit more people get in. And I'll just go over some of the stuff that the pattern talks about. Just 1 minute. Bye, baby. My husband was setting up the camera for me. I'm always trying to find better camera locations because I really want you to see the stitching, but if you see the stitching, then you won't be able to see the voice, hear the voice, or the person behind it. So we are going to be doing the Celine. I love this bag because the possibilities for this bag are endless. I have turned it into superheroes. I have turned it into a slouchy bag, a structure bag, so many different things. Oh, no problem. Yeah, it'll be here. This will be here the whole, you know, whenever we make videos, they stay live in Swoon. Just if you go underneath Swoon sew-alongs, there's like a hyperlink right above where you want to, right below where you want to comment, and you can just hit it and you can see all of our sew-alongs, all of our educational videos, Monica's, Tammy's, everyone's. So, all right, I like the Celine. The Celine is one of my favorite bags. I've turned it into so many different things, from memory bags. From the first time I got commissioned to do it, somebody lost their grandfather and they had a leather jacket and they asked me to turn it into this tote, and it was the coolest thing I've ever done. Then I had someone ask me to turn it into Captain America, and I did that. I've used it. It's one of my favorite bags I carry personally because it's open. Hi, everybody. It's open and you can just, it's a great bag. It has a lot of different features. Today I'm not going to do any modifications except adding rivets to the handles. Other than that, I'm sticking 100% to this pattern because I feel like with like the Annette or the Vivian or the Celine, you need to make the pattern first and then have crazy modifications afterwards. And I can do a class whenever you want in reference to modifications, but this pattern alone has the coolest features and it's just a great bag to have. So we'll get started. You're gonna have to cut out all your pattern pieces, and there's quite a few, and there's quite a few linings. So you're gonna have your top front panel, which you're only going to cut one of, and then you're going to have your top lining, which you're going to cut two of. Each one of these you're going to interface. So for my interfacing, I'm using Bouncy Firm. I'm not using just a woven. I actually have lined mine with even my, I'm doing it all cotton. I lined mine with the lining fabric with a non-woven. I like the structure, I like the feel of it, and I prefer it that way. For the Bouncy Firm, I have it a half an inch, so none of my interfacing is actually in my seam allowance. I decided 2 hours ago that I was going to make this with a Tulip Pink fabric, and this is called Moonshine. I had all my interfacing cut out, but didn't know what fabric I wanted to use. That's always the most difficult thing for me to pick out. But I have I love butterflies, and it's pretty. And I'm going to go with some rainbow iridescent hardware that I got from Emmeline Bags. So the hardware you're going to need for these, you either need 4 1-inch O-rings or 4 1-inch D-rings, and then a half inch hook, a swivel hook, and a half an inch D-ring. So I prepped mine. I put all my interfacings on. I let them cool because I feel like a lot of times interfacings pill because we start a project right away and the glue hasn't had a chance to adhere or really cure. So that's my top tip is follow the instructions on how you're supposed to interface. Most interfacing you don't need steam. It's just heat. And let it cool. Let the fabric cool. And you see Monica doing that in a lot of her videos. When she's cutting, she tosses them to the side or puts them on the floor because they need an opportunity to cool down. I cut out the zippers. The zippers for this pattern require, I believe it's a 9-inch zipper and a 14-inch or longer. So I have my 14-inch. It is really pretty black iridescent, and I have my pull on there. How I prep my zipper is I hand stitch the U so that way I'm not trying to fussy it. I see some people do the coolest thing where they're able just to fold it back and it stays, but it never works out for me that way. So I'm not opposed to hand stitching so I can get like prime results for me. And I usually hand stitch the bottom in case I pull the zipper all the way down and it just comes off. And in the swim pattern, it gives you how wide you need to cut the zipper tabs, whether you're using a 1-inch zipper or a 1.25-inch zipper. And 1.25 zippers are usually it depends on the brand, but most of the times it's a number 5 zipper. And that's what I'm using for both of those because I just like the look and feel of a number 5 zipper. So we have the zipper panels. They're going to be 10 by 1.5 inches. I went ahead and ironed the half-inch seam so it's ready to go. Normally when I'm interfacing, I automatically draw all the lines in like a pencil or a pen, and just it's easier for me to do interfacing that way. Australia, wow, we got everyone here tonight. It's just easier for me to actually do it this way. If you ever look at the back of any of my stuff, I usually have some kind of pen marks or I write notes because no one's going to see the lining. There's actually a bag maker I know who signs the inside of her bags in her lining, and I think that's actually really cool because, you know, in quilting they tell you to sign somewhere the quilt because this is how they can keep records. So I have marks usually on lining fabrics, like this one says lining number 1, lining number 2, so that way if I don't have labels, it's written on the back of the interface and no one's going to see it. So again, for me, I like to keep my interface out of my seam allowance, whether I'm on a domestic or if I'm on an industrial. It comes out smoother and it'll have crisper lines in the end because it just tucks in there nicely. It's not a weird bulky seam. So I'm going to take these, put them in this little cart, and we're going to get started. No super fancy hardwares. This bag is just really chic on its own. I will give tips and tricks and how you could do different modifications that can suit your needs. Like, I personally like to put tabs on the sides so it can become a crossbody, but I also have learned that if your D-ring, rectangle rings, or your O-rings are wide enough, you can make a crossbody strap and it can connect on one side of the bag and then connect on the other, and you don't have to add that. There's a lot of different modifications we can do for it. So have your pieces ready, and let's see. As far as the pattern pieces, they're really straightforward. The only thing I could see could be confusing, but it does have on the pattern piece is the gusset. So on the gusset, the Swoon, right, the author of this gives very direct instructions that you cut 2 of these, unless you're using vinyl. You cut 2 of contrasting woven and interface. You're not supposed to use interface if you're using vinyl on this. And how you cut them is you mirror them. So if you have cotton, it's easy because you can just cut it on the fold and call it a day. If you have vinyl, what I suggest you to do is lay the pattern out like this, go around, trace it, flip it, and trace it again, and then you can cut it out or rotary it out, whatever. This curve does actually really well with the rotary blade. And then you do the same thing on the other side. And the reason why it's not supposed to be one piece is because there's a 1/2 inch seam allowance when you add the gussets right sides together. The other part is when you do your lining fabric, you need to cut where the dotted line is. So you fold in this, and then you do the same thing for your lining. You cut on the fold, and you call it a day. That's really important because if you do them both the same size, you're going to have a baggy inside. So basically, by doing this, it takes in a 1/2 inch and it makes your inside very taut. So I'm going to take these pattern pieces and put them in my little folder. Whenever I'm not using a pattern, when I'm done cutting it, I like to put all the pieces in a folder of some sort, and then hopefully once my renovation of all my room gets complete, I can show you how I organize my patterns, my books, everything for different references. Like right now, my go-to book is Mrs. H's book. It was in the beautiful description that one of our admin team put in reference to different things when we do the modification Dorian tomorrow. It's referring to one of her patterns that could turn the Dorian into a crossbody, into a backpack. So I'm really happy about this because I feel like it'll be like the ultimate gift to anyone during the holidays or just because. And we have some amazing prizes. We've had, let me go back to these prizes. I was so ecstatic when I seen it. We have prizes from Backstitch Fabric, Sew Sweetness. There are so many. Mrs. H herself, Swoon Patterns. Let's see. Emmeline Bags, Andrea's Design. The Bag of the Month Club, which is a really cool club because you get to experience so many different designers. That's actually how I got seeing Mrs. H. I seen one of her bags and I was really intrigued, and that's what made me get the masterclass book before I even met her. Like, I wanted her signature, and her book has a lot of cool tricks. Like, I love a kangaroo pocket, but I hate when it used down, and she had a way to make it line up exactly perfectly in lining, and it's pretty crazy because now that I thought of it, I was like, if somebody would have just told me that. And someone has a chance to win that, her masterclass sewing book pattern, 3 PDF patterns from Swoon. There's so many prizes. So for the prize tonight, there's 3 different prizes altogether. tonight I'm going to throw out a code word randomly whenever, you know, I feel the niche to be like, oh, the code word is, and then you have a chance to type it in and be entered automatically for the drawing. Then there's also going to be a code word for tomorrow when me and Monica make the Dorian, as well as people that participate and actually make the bags. There is a grand prize winning. Like, one of them is backstitch stocking pass. I don't know about you, but if you're in the custom world, you know who backstitch is. And to have a stocking pass, let's just say I wish I can enter this. And I right now am curing my this is the fabric they donated, and I put Autocoat on it, and it's waterproof. I am super stoked about this backpack because it is going to be all waterproof. And as you can hear, I already put it underneath the sink and everything, and water just beads up in it, and it's like awesome. So I'm really excited about all these, and I'm really excited to see all of your bags. And then we can have a modification class if you wish. All right, so let's get this party started, because you don't know when I'm gonna pass out the code word at any time. It's like a weird kind of power for me right now. All right, so with this bag, I found it was really cool that they start with constructing the outside pocket first. So we're gonna get the short tabs for the pocket tabs, and I have them right here. I have a lot of different clips, and I like to clip things I know that are going together, so that way I'm not like mad scrabbling trying to get the bag together. So you're going to put both short ends a 1/2 inch under, wrong sides together, and then you're going to fold the tab in half and press it. So I did this, and you're supposed to interface this. I did a non-woven interfacing. And then we're going to cut the zipper tape down to exactly 9 inches, so it does not extend past the 1/2 inch for the zipper stop. The reason why I like continuous tape is I don't like the zipper teeth. However, sometimes I like that old-fashioned zipper tape. It just, I don't know, it's pretty good. All right, we're going to stitch this down like this. Now, you'll see me use pins for this because it's cotton, and I just feel like it's easier. What I usually do is I top stitch and I stitch it down inside first, and then I close it over and do it again, just for that extra security. It just makes me feel like the zipper's really gonna stay. All right, let's see. I'm going to be using a stitch length of 2.5, and as you see right here, whenever I put in a new bobbin, I like to take a piece of scrap fabric and just sew to see if the tension's off in the bobbin, or the top of it is going to be a problem with the tension. I do this with my domestics too, because I've had some frustrations where like it nested and it kind of like my feed dog sucked down the fabric. And I've noticed if I do a test scrap and I can check to see how the stitches look on both the front and the back, then I have less frustration. So it would help if I had my scissors that I think I just put away. All right, so we're going to top stitch this down. And let me get back here so when I'm on this side I can see. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I got it off of Amazon. It says counselor on the back too. I got stopped a couple days ago when I wore it, because somebody was like, what camp are you a counselor of? And I was like, nothing. No, never mind. You know, it's Halloween. Gotta have some fun. During the holidays, you'll see me wear like one of my favorite Christmas movies is The Christmas Story, and I have like a whole bunch of Ralphie shirts that say like you'll shoot your eye out. I'm that person that likes to wear Christmas shirts and Halloween shirts and weird Valentine Day shirts. And then I'll try to get matching one with my husband, and he always looks at me like, do I have to? I'm like, it makes me happy. Oh, also with when I have continuous zipper tape, I hand stitch, when I cut them at 9 inches, I'll hand stitch a little loops around the both ends so that the zippers don't separate. It's like magic when I see someone can have like an open zipper and they could just sew like over it and it's not open. I'm like, how do you do that? It's some kind of sewing sorcery. I don't know. And cut these strings. And what I always try, and it doesn't always help, but I always try to cut all my strings ahead while I'm doing it, because I'm really bad at cutting strings. And I'm just going to make sure everything lines up on this before I top stitch it, and it does. Yeah, you can sew along the tabs. I just personally, you top stitch like 1/8 of an inch. I just like to sew inside first and then do the top stitching. And there's no reason for it. I've never had a zipper come undone. It's just, I don't know, extra security. I have 3 kids and my kids are always like pulling on my bags or pulling on whatever I have. So, and you'll see me when I'm sewing also, I'll flip something around and sew it in a uniform line as well. Because unlike a domestic, my industrials don't have thread cutters, but I have seen some really cool videos with people that have domestics that have thread cutters. I'm like kind of jealous of them. Okay, so when we have our zipper and the zipper ends are done at 1/8 of the edge to secure, we're going to pin them to the exterior pocket panel. So my exterior pocket panel is the one with the bouncy firm, and I wanted to just show you a different how the bag structure could look a little bit different with different interfacing. This bouncy firm I got from Cereal Bag Maker. It's actually one of my favorite. So you're going to take the zipper and put right sides together, and you can pin or clip. When I'm doing zippers, I like these little skinny clips and or hair clips or binder clips, whatever you have around you. I've used binder clips a lot. That's one of my favorite ones to use too. And clipping, and you don't have to overclip. You can overclip if you want. It's all personal preference. Everyone has the way they, Yeah, so with the zipper tabs, it makes it 10 inches. Let me see. I know I picked the weird color. I was going to go for like this Beetlejuice green, but I didn't have enough of the fabric. So we're going to do this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm also a person that doesn't change her foot very often. I'm that weird person that when I do piping, I never use a piping foot. And I should. I own one. It's just still at the 2.5 inch seam allowance. Just move my zipper out of the way, when I'm halfway there. I am lucky though that and always backstitch and not clip with your pin. Fred, my pin guy, holds all my pins. It's weird. So that's how it would look. So what we're going to do is we are going to take the lining, one of the linings, and put them right sides together so you only see the outsides. And this is why you clip threads. So that you can see the outside, and we're going to go again at 1/4 of an inch, back stitch. When you get to the zipper, just, you know, move it so your stitches are even. You can clip if it's comfortable, but for me, I guess at this point, the zipper teeth are already stapled onto the main fabric, so I feel like I'm confident enough to do it. But sometimes I still stitch because if my woven has any kind of stretch to it, this is probably why I use non-woven interfacing. If there's any kind of stretch, it can not line up at the end, and then I'm curious on what I did wrong when it lined up when I cut everything out. So we have this. And what we're going to do is top stitch 1/8 of an inch away. So I don't have an 1/8 inch on my sewing machine. What I do is I usually put the needle in between the feet, and the inside of the foot I just kind of I just let it ride. So the further foot away, I just let it go in between and take my time and breathe. Same stitch length. I only usually change my stitch length amount when I'm top stitching the outside of the bag. Even though this is going to show on the outside, it's not where the gusset is for me, and that's again all personal preferences. Everyone has different preferences. If I was doing this with vinyl, because this is now a little bit thicker, I probably would have been at a 3. So it's all top stitch. And what we get now is the other lining piece. So what got me confused when I first made this bag is she does have where the wrong sides, they show you the wrong sides are the polka dots and the right sides are the lining. But what got me confused is I thought this was supposed to go like this, but I was wrong. I was incorrect. This piece goes on in the back like this. So you're going to do 1/4 of an inch going onto the back, because we are going to take this and this goes onto the top. So basically what it's doing, it's just doing like a bit reverse of what we normally do. So that way, yeah, in my interfacing thing, I'm a huge fan of this cheap non-woven interfacing I get at Walmart. It's at Hobby Lobby, it's at Joann's. It's you can get it for a whole roll on I think I had a whole roll for Overstock.com for like $26, and it's like my favorite thing if I'm using cotton lining. It's non-woven, it doesn't stretch. So that's a huge thing for me. So I'm going to take this, and because I don't want any movement or any shifting, I'm going to just clip. So that way it all works. And you're going to do the 1/4 of an inch back stitch. And just breathe. I was telling Monica, I told Monica before when we were talking about sewing that top stitching is my favorite thing to do, but I have a tendency of not breathing when I top stitch, and I'll grind my teeth and I'll be like, why does my jaw hurt the next day? Like it's gonna magically make it better. See, and I haven't pin marked the 1/2 inch way mark because when we're lining at the end and we're trying to connect center marks, I already have them on all my back of my linings. So it just makes my life a little bit easier. I like to notch things too, especially because this has a generous seam allowance of a 1/2 inch. You know, every bag maker has different, from anywhere from 1/4 of an inch, 3/8, 5/8. So it all depends. So clipping it, then doing that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, moving my zipper, because of course I had to put the most largest zipper in the world on, because I like to make things a little bit difficult. I don't know. I figured with the purple, I just wanted like a big zipper pull. Most of my hardware I got, so the beautiful rectangle rings, which I'll show you in a minute, and my 1/2 inch swivel clasp, I got from, I'm going to steam the seams up on this one real quick. I got from Emmeline Bags. I got these zipper pulls from Serial Bag Maker, and I just liked how big they were. Like, there's no design, just they're big, and I thought, hey, this will be pretty together. So we do the top stitch all the way together, and we're going to move the allowance up, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. I press my seams up so that I can get caught in the top stitching. So you're going to flip the 2 panels up when you do this top stitching, and it just gives it a real clean inside look where you can't see the zipper tape. And my needle is a 9014. I think I forgot to mention that. I probably would have went bigger if I used any vinyl. But see how pretty that is? When you open it up, it'll have really clean seams. So we're going to now, at a 1/4 of an inch, baste them all together, so that way when we do the gusset, everything's going to be in place. And I just do a couple clips around just to make sure that all the lining. I've tried nylon in some beach bags, and I used ripstop, and I enjoyed it. I've actually used pool, oilcloth. I like having waterproof in my linings, because whether it's makeup, crayons, markers, anything, I like something that you can just wipe up. It just makes my life a whole lot easier. 1/4 of an inch seam allowance throughout, going across the U of this bag, and just make sure all your lining pieces match up. And just follow the curve. If any of you guys bake out there or made a pizza, it's kind of like rolling a dough. How I tell people how you can do it. And you don't have to go fast. It's not about speed. It's about how well you can make that curve look clean. And just guide your machine. It's easier on my brother's sewing machine because it has a dual feed, and when I'm quilting, it's absolutely gorgeous. With industrials, this is not a walking foot machine. It could take heavier stuff, but you kind of just have to baby it. All right. Let me clip these threads. Clip up this little extra. And the pocket is secured. All right. So we take that and we put this aside, and we're going to take our exterior gusset which mine wants to stay together, which are these Y's, and we're going to put them right sides together. And I just try to get them to match up as much as possible. You know what's, I actually didn't mark these in the center. And I'm going to do this now so that way when we match up the lining to the exterior, the interior to the exterior, it'll just be, it's easier when you see a little, and I'm using a pencil. I mean, I do have like heat erase pens, but I have a tendency of using pencil, or my favorite thing are these Clover Choco pencils. I have no idea why I love these so much. As it just fell down to the middle of the floor. So you're going to put these right sides together. And you're going to do it at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And that is very important. Not 1/4, not 3/8. It's exactly at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going with the guide that's the marking on my machine, but if my machine didn't have accurate marking, I always use, that's why it's connected to this. I'll use a magnet and a heartbeat. It's like a $3 thing on Amazon, and I have them for almost every single machine. So what we're going to do, I press the seam over before I top stitch it, because I want it to be crisp, and I use a lot of steam, as you can hear. I get my mini facial on. So we're going to be on page 5, and it says press the seams open and top stitch on both sides at 1/8 of an inch from the seam. So I'm going to take this and go 1/8 of an inch on both sides to help secure that seam. What is the name of the waterproofing? For the one I did for the back stitch, it's called Autocoat. Tammy mentioned it in her things that beginners should know, like she didn't know about and she wanted beginners to know about. I actually never really used it before until Tammy mentioned it. I got it on Amazon, and I did it for one thing. I forgot what bag I used it for, and it blew my mind away. And when Backstitch was generous enough to sponsor tomorrow's project, I was like, well, I don't want this fabric to get dirty. What can I do to waterproof it? And I decided to get some Autocoat. And I did it, and I kind of like the way it looks. I'm debating on whether or not to do it in the inside, because I was going to show you guys how I use heat vinyl. It's like, it comes in matte or glossy, where you put it on top of your fabric, and that's another way you can waterproof it. There's stuff at Joann's, there's Scotch Guard that could help waterproof fabrics as well. All right, so it is secure now. So we're going to use the back paper. Okay, we're going to use to mark the front and back of your panel, which I did. Like I told you, always mark the center markings. And we are going to line up this gusset. We're going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So when I first did this, the gusset did not work out for me. I was like, what is going on? Why isn't this not working? And you have to ease in the gusset. What I like to do is I put the front sides matching, and I automatically clip it on the top. I bring the other side around, and I match it as best as I possibly can. And I put a clip here. From the center mark, you can clip it like 1/4 of an inch, just to make sure that you got it. And you're going to match it with the seam that you just created when you combine the two gusset pieces together. Clip it. So this is where all the clipping begins. There are some people that are like, hey, you don't need to clip a lot. There's others like, clip it all the way through. It kind of just depends on you. I am a person that likes a lot of clips. I admire people that can staple. I can't. I'm a freak of nature. I'm a person that burns her hands on an oven. If I do this, it will most likely, like, a staple will just get into my eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip both sides, and I'm going to show you how you're going to ease in this gusset. Because that was the most confusing part. Like, this is where I was like, I give up. I am doing something wrong. But actually, Alicia has this really amazing blog that I will link either later on tonight or tomorrow, that I think it came out in April of 2017 or 2018, and she talked about it. So because when I first did it, this is what happened. I'm like, why isn't this going into the gusset? So there's a few things you can do. One, you can do, we have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you can do little snips from this point, from around the corner, and help spread the fabric to only at 1/4 of an inch, because our seam allowance is a 1/2 inch, and it'll help spread the thing. Or you can use your fingers and start putting the gusset inside. You have to tuck it inside. And this is where clips will save everything. So I use my thumbs. And I'm just kind of easing the gusset into the fabric. I'm gonna show you the clip method on the other side, because I use that a lot on a lot of bags, especially if you have vinyl. It could be a little bit harder to ease in the seams because it's vinyl, and it doesn't want to move like cotton. There's cotton, even with the non-woven, it has a little bit of stretch, a little bit of give. But vinyl, not so much, especially depending on how it's backed. If it's flanneled or if it's marine vinyl, it all depends. And you're just easing. So for this one, I'm going to get my scissors and just do little baby snips. No more than a 1/4 of an inch. You don't want to go into your, you don't want to go past your seam allowance. And when I do this, what happens is the fabric starts to spread over the curve because it's been like released from its structure. Sorry, my phone wants to, I say fabric and my phone automatically comes on. And let's do this. And I will show you in just 1 second. And you just, when I first did it, I was like, oh my God, this is genius. Because I never, the bag has like a 3-dimensional shape, and you kind of have to press your fingers in to get the bag to cooperate, actually. And I always say, you know, fidget with your clips as much as you want. Like, there's nobody watching you, no one clocking your time. It's until you feel like, okay, this is absolutely perfect. I like the way this looks. Let's sew. I like clipping though, clipping it, to be honest, because I feel like it spreads out the fabric and eases the tension around there a little bit, and I'll get less puckers. I don't want puckers. And here we go. And it's just slowly all coming together. Yeah, I have like serious concentration when I'm clipping. I think I should have like stop and wonder clips. I use a lot of binder clips though too. because somehow, some way, my children believe that like I like stationery for Christmas, and I always get like tons of binders. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna binder clips. I'm just gonna use these for when I'm making a costume or a bag. And I'm almost done clipping. Let me clip into the, hold on, I'm gonna clip onto this other side because it's not trying to ease in. So weird because normally when I'm sewing, I'm listening to like some kind of audible, so it becomes really, really weird. For leather, yeah, if you're using it with leather, you need to ease it in. Leather will be a little bit more stiffer, but you would just need to do little clips. There's a huge seam allowance of a 1/2 inch, so just keep that in mind. Like you can clip up to 1 inch, you know, not 1 inch, but 1/4 of an inch, and you'll be absolutely golden. And hold on, and I'm almost done, and we'll take this to the machine. And so what I usually do, and I didn't do it right now, is I usually take this zipper panel and I match it to this to make sure everything is even. So I take the zipper panel and I match it to the back panel just to make sure it's even, and I forgot to show you guys that. So everything's clipped and we start sewing. And this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Hi from Florida. Let's see. Never too late. Backstitch, I always backstitch like 3 or 4 stitches. And I'm not opposed to squishing my bag because, especially if it's woven, I can iron it later. And I like ironing actually. I like nice crisp corners. Sometimes I think ironing can definitely make or break a bag, depending on the person. And while you're sewing, if you see one area that puckers a little bit, don't be afraid to grab your scissors and like snip in to that, into the gusset, just to do a little bit of ease, no more than 1/4 of an inch. And then you're just going to move your hand around, and you don't want to wrinkle below the needle because that's how you get a pucker. I'm just going to snip into here because this area wants to pucker. As soon as my scissors that are super dull wants to work. So after this step of doing the 1/2 inch seam, what we do is we're going to iron it. Then we actually cut down the 1/2 inch seam allowance to 1/4 of an inch, and then we top stitch. A pucker above your needle, absolutely fine. Below, no, not at all. And don't be afraid to rip out seams. That's what I love about cotton. Cotton's so much more forgiving than any other fabric. Thank you, Nakira. So let me see if I have any puckers that are way too noticeable for me that I don't like. There's a small one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and undo this stitch real quick because puckers are like my pet peeve. So what I do is I take a pin off a thread and then I'll stick it where it is in the seam, and then I'll go around back and release that stitch and redo it because I don't want to pucker, because whether this bag is for me or I'm gifting it, I just want it to be, imperfections are perfections, and I truly believe that, but also knowing when you can make a mistake and how you can fix it, I feel like is important. That's part of the whole bag making, is that learning how to correct mistakes. And I think I got it. So I'll flip this bad boy back around. And back stitch to secure. And then I'm going to do what it says. Press the seams, then clip it halfway into the seam allowance along the curves. I use a lot of steam when I'm using woven. A lot. And then we're just going to cut it it's going to go down to 1/4 of an inch. And it's just, that's to alleviate the bulk, as well as it'll give you like a crisper, like just a crisper look altogether. When you turn it right sides out, it won't look bulky in that area. And so we just trimming. Literally got like my favorite scissors. There's a reason why I put those. So what we're gonna do is top stitch. So far it's looking like this. Super cute. What she said about folding the lining, but if the piece is cut on the fold, how do you flip it? You mirror it. If you're doing vinyl, you would draw out this on the back, or you can use a leather pin in the front and draw this out and then flip it, because you can't really cut vinyl on a fold. So I'm going to turn this back and top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. All right. So this is when it gets like super awkward with your machine. And this is why you keep your seam allowances out of out of your seam allowance, because it makes top stitching so much easier. No matter if you're doing leather, vinyl, it just, you know what, I'm going to increase this to a 3 because it's top stitching. Take your time, breathe, pull the fabric taut. And be prepared to smush your bag. I think that's what I was afraid of the most when I first made bags, is the non-smushing aspect. Because you don't want to, like, you're like, I'm working so hard and I ironed all the pieces. I don't want to smush the bag. And pivot, take your time around the corners, do like 1 or 2 stitches, breathe, and take your time. I'm like pulling off the fabric kind of taut, so that way it doesn't like fold on to itself. And by doing this top stitching, it gives it like, not a faux piping per se, but it gives it more structure for the bag to sit up on its own. And it just looks really pretty. If I had this lilac thread, I probably would have changed out thread colors to have I like contrasting chop stitching colors. That's just a personal preference. And when you're also top stitching that 1/4 of a seam, 1/4 of an inch seam down, so it's just extra security. All right. I mean, once I am big about interiors, exteriors. We're getting a bag. It's already getting its shape. See, and I'm not using any extra. You see how, like, this is woven, no vinyl, and it has a really nice shape. All right. So we're going to repeat the same thing with the exterior panel, exterior back. So we're going to turn it inside out again. That's why if you're turning this bag inside out a couple times, I'm saying don't be afraid to smush it. It'll live. If my exterior panel didn't want to disappear, let's see, of course, let's see. All right, so again, you can see in blue pen, I have marked the center marks on both of these. It helps when you are lining the main fabric to you'll see when we get towards done with the construction of the lining and we put the lining and the exterior right sides together, having marks on the outside of your interface makes the world of difference. You press the seam. So when I pressed it, I pressed the seam towards where I'm going to top stitch. You're top stitching towards on the panel. So I press the seams going towards that way. This is why I use a lot of steam. And then you top stitch on top of that. And it kind of gives your bag of bones to sit up, because now all the seams are going in one direction. Allowance. So the line that I made going to the center part of the gusset, it's pretty much the same thing. What I like to do is I like to start with the sides, and I just start pinning, and I try to make sure that the lining is lined up as best as I possibly can. I mean, not the lining, but the lines are lined up, because you don't want to, this is why I always use a lot of pins. You don't want something to shift where one section got a 1/2 inch and the other section only got caught by 1/4 of an inch. And you're just kind of kneading and using your thumbs to poke in the bag. So, what, like, this is where I got confused. You just kind of take your thumbs, try to see what you get. Take your thumbs and you're going to push it into that seam allowance, and it'll meet. Or you can do little snips. It would have been hilarious if I would have sat back and my chair would have moved. Let's see. And just use your thumbs and just push in to help ease the fabric. This gusset is made perfectly for the fabric. The pieces, like, it's, once I figured that out, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, because I was really struggling. Like, I was like, this, I cannot get this bag, this gusset. And after I read her post and I started experimenting with how to go around that situation, I now like to clip from both sides all the way until that part, and that's when I start kind of kneading the fabric in. And also that's why you keep your stabilizers out of the seams, because the more stabilizers you have there, the harder it is for that seam to like mold around your hands. And of course my first bag had to be with vinyl. Like, I like to make something as difficult as possible. Oh, I'm sorry you lost me. So just kneading this. And I actually like the fact that, I think for me, Celine was the first bag I seen where, from Swoon, where it was designed to have the vinyl be the contrasting fabric. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So when I tried it, I was like, why is this not working? It's all about easing that round part in as much as possible. And if you have a part that's not cooperating, to snip in a little bit around that corner, no more than 1/4 of an inch. If worst comes to worst, when I used to make this bag, I used to draw a 1/4 of an inch line around the corners, and just to make sure. See, because once you clip it, it goes from this to spreading evenly and being flush. The clips can make all the difference. And you see how many clips I have on here too. Well, we're about to do this again. You have to breathe. Stay hydrated. My husband's always like, have you drank while you've been sewing? Drink some water. And it's a 1/2 inch back stitch Let me go back to 2.5 because I'm at my top stitch of 3. Back stitch, and take your time. I like to sew fast, but when it's something I'm making for someone or someone commissioned me from, I take my sweet time because I want to make sure that I don't believe that there's a such thing as perfect, but I wanted to make it I want to make it memorable for this person and last a long time. So I won't take any loose steps. And let's see. When you're also doing this, again, take it easy around the corners. Make sure you're shifting your fabric so the fabric doesn't get pulled and get caught up in the seam, because that's happened to me a couple times. Move your fabric around. Don't be afraid to squish this bag. It's not going to hurt it. You're not going to do anything except make sure that you don't get wrinkles underneath where you're sewing. If you have them above, it's fine. You're not going to show any puckers. Under, no bueno. And we're just taking our time. I was at Joann's today, and I seen that they had holographic vinyl. It's this close to making you guys a holographic bag. I was like, no more vinyl. It was absolutely beautiful. Joann's has really been stepping up their vinyl game recently. But not so much. It seems like all their cotton was like depleted at my store, and my store is like a superstore. Just take your time. I have my needle that goes down in the needle down position, so when I stop, my bag doesn't shift or anything. I feel like that's really important to have it in the needle down position, because sometimes you have to stop. I like to pull taut in some areas to make sure that there's no wrinkle. And also having exactly your interfacing a half an inch away from your main exterior fabric gives you a sewing guide. So you don't have to actually depend on the guide that's in front of you. Your needle just goes against the interfacing. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry that you weren't able to hear me well. I apologize. And so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to iron the interfacing. I mean, not the interfacing. The seam, and also iron the seam real quick, and then cut it down to 1/4 of a seam, 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Those corners could be, I like to put it on the edge. Also, I use a clapper when I'm trying to get the seams in one direction. I'll iron it on and then I'll clap it. You like press down and it just gives you a crisper look. I use a lot of tailoring tools when I'm sewing. Like I have hams for bags. cutting that 1/4 of an inch. Going around the curves very carefully. I'm always enamored by these Fisher scissors. Like they had cute pumpkin ones for Halloween. They had candy cane ones for Christmas. But for me, I always have, even when they're brand new out of the box, I have the hardest time cutting with them. It's like they're not sharp enough. I don't know. Maybe it's just user error. So all right. So we repeated the step. We sewed this step. With the remaining exterior back panel, trim the seam allowance down from 1/4 of an inch, which I did. And I don't think we top stitch the back. Similar to the Tonya, you only top stitch the main panel that has the zipper. I think it's for security. And then I'm going to turn this right sides out. Hold on. Hit it with some steam. Also, when I'm turning a bag out, I always like to hit it with steam. It makes it more pliable for me. This is going to be a pretty bag. Yeah. I like to do that, and I can't I try to do the e-reader one when you're like reading the instructions, and it always times out when I want to actually read it. So I always have a paper a paper pattern. But yeah, this is going to be pretty. I'm really excited about this. I love butterflies. All right, so I'm going to put this on the top of here and grab my linings. So normally in linings, I love having zipper pockets, so that way I could pull the bag through, or I can have an opening in the lining, pull the bag through, and have an opening in the zipper, and do it this way. But this one, the original pattern does not call for that. So we are not going to do it. We're going to try to follow the original. Okay. Vinyl, we're not doing the vinyl handle connectors, we're doing the woven. Oh, so we're not done with this yet. We're putting the woven connectors. Hold on. Make sure I have all my pieces. Those go here. I promise you I had my woven connectors. Okay, so with the woven connectors, the pieces are, go back to the thing, the connectors are, I want to say 3, yeah, compartment, zipper pocket, tab. They're this piece. Why am I looking for it when they're an actual piece? They're 2 by 3, and you interface. Let's see. Because they're sitting right in front of you. So, they're 2 by 3, and what you're gonna do is when you cut them out, You have your interfacing, and you're going to fold it in at a 1/2 inch, and you iron it only on one side. The other side remains raw. And then you fold it onto itself, and then you iron it. And you have this like this. Let me get this hardware out so you can see it. So you do this for all 4 connectors. The bags are with bags. I was going to go for all black hardware, but then I felt like with the purple, I wanted to, I'm just going to rip it. It's easier. And this is the hardware. I thought this was really pretty. So it will go in like this and come down. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the front panel of the connectors, and let's see, we're going to, from the raw edge panel, we're going to fold that in, and we're going to sew across the connectors with all 3 connectors at 1/8 of an inch. We're going to do a box, and we're going to pivot. You could pin or glue base the handle connectors. I'm actually going to use double-sided tape on this. I recommend and don't recommend it. If you're using woven, I would recommend a pin. The reason why I recommend double-sided tape is there's less options of shifting. So let's see. We're going to go 3/4 of an inch from the top edge. So we're going to actually turn this back inside out. And we're going to go, they have it in between where the gusset and the panels meet. So we're going to go 3/4 of an inch. And my favorite rulers are these cheap rulers you get on Amazon, and they're like 99 cents. But the grids, they help you out a lot. So what I'm going to do is mark 3/4 of an inch in the top of the seam with chalk. In the top of the seam. Just a small little blue line. Nothing too big. You could just wipe off chalk. And this is Taylor chalk. They last forever. And I'm trying to get it lined up perfectly where the seams are. And I think I got it. Now you can pin it down, and it will work fine. The only problem I have with pins is sometimes things shift when I'm moving it, and that's why I like double-sided tape, but I'm going to try pins today. A little dangerously. I personally really like double-sided tape, except sometimes it depends. Like, it's like a hit or miss with a batch. Sometimes I get a really awesome batch, and then other times I get ones that like constantly gum up my needles. I don't know. Oh yeah, I love the shape of this bag. Let's see. I love the fact that Emmeline like protects your hardware by individually wrapping each one of your hardware pieces so it doesn't scratch. I feel like that's important to me. This is the only modification I'm going to do on this bag. Is I'm a firm believer of rivets. Like, I think I'm harder on bags than I should be. So I like rivets. It'll just be one rivet in the middle, in between the box, and I'll try to line it up as best as I can. I like to eyeball it, apparently. I mean, sometimes I bust out the ruler, especially because it's like you just have to look at for the ½ inch mark, but most of the time, I just eyeball it. All right, here we go. All right, so we're gonna do, I have 3 of them pinned because apparently I can't find any of my other needles, and I'm going to do a 1/8 of an inch box. And when I get to the hardware, what I'm going to do is most likely take a piece of fabric and put it over the hardware so that there's no scratching, because that sometimes can happen as well. And here we go. For this, I definitely recommend you to use a coordinating fabric color. So in my case, my bag is black and has like different shades of purple. So I'm just gonna go, I'm keeping with the black. And when I pivot around, I want to make sure that my hardware does not get affected. And again, your bag's gonna get all smushy. And you just keep pivoting. You could, if you felt like, hey, this little box is not enough security and you don't have rivets, you can make an X inside the box, so an X, and that could be extra. Or you could do another, you know, coordinating row of stitching, just to be on the safe side. I like a second row of stitching actually a lot. I like the way it looks. And you go to the next one. You just, it's kind of, you know, therapeutic in a way. And just, I'm trying to line it up next to that little blue line that I made as best as I possibly can. And I'm back stitching in the beginning and a little bit when I pivot. I know that might be against protocol, but I just figured it might be better. I'm just dropping everything today. Having your machine in the needle down position helps us out tremendously. Cut threads as you go. That's probably my #1 tip, because I fell at that way too many times. Okay, let me get this last one. That here. middle. I like the way these, the connectors are in between the gusset line and the main panel. I don't know why. I just think it looks really cool. Like I said, you definitely can use double-sided tape if you want it. It all depends on your machine. And I hate to say it, everybody has like their own version of their brand that they like. I like the Cellrite version on Amazon. It doesn't gum up my machine as much, but that's just personal preference. Like, it's kind of like thread. Everyone has their own thing. I'm using Saba thread that you get from Waywack right now. I really like this thread. It's a polyester, and it doesn't break. It doesn't fray a lot. But I also use this thing where you put sewer's aid in it, and when you feed it through your machine, it helps with any like fuzziness or anything like that. I seen I don't know who I seen this from. It's not my idea. I seen it from on someone's machine, and I was really, I think they were making bridal wear, and she was saying that it stopped like from, it makes her, she has less breakage and less lint on her machine when she uses this. And it's with a little bit of sewer's aid. All right, this is it. We're in the home stretch. We put the connectors on. I'm just going to put rivets in because I want that security. Put this pin and thread. Cut all my strings. All right. Push this back through. And let's see. All right. So what I'm going to do is in the middle of each one of these, I'm going to just take my handy dandy hole puncher, eyeball this, and put a rivet, a small rivet, because this is not a lot of material. And the rivets I got are from Emmeline Bag too. I got some rainbow rivet from, where was it? Someplace on Etsy, and the caps fell off. So now I only get my rivets from my rainbow rivets either from Emmeline Bag or More Me Know. And those are the only two people I trust with my rainbow rivets right now. Because they're a little bit more expensive than gunmetal or any other color. And they come significantly less to a bag too. Like it's 20 of them opposed to like 50 or 60. So yeah, there was that. So if I'm going to pay for the more expensive hardware, then I want to make sure that the hardware itself is really good. And so I made sure that I poked through to the stabilizer, because I only cut out the 1/2 inch, so now the stabilizers are butting together, and I just wanted to make sure that I'm counting out 4 that when I poke a hole in this and I put a rivet through it, that it will be stabilized and it won't rip through. If your material is not thick enough, you always could put another piece of stabilizer back there, like Peltex or 808 or vinyl washer. But as you can see, because I'm using the stabilizer, the head is barely poking out. If the head is too like thick going up, it won't, it could bend the post and it won't work, and you're gonna be frustrated, and I wouldn't blame you. So I'm just threading these all in, putting the caps in, and then I'm just going to use my press that I got from Minkus and Margot on Etsy, and I'm hoping they come back soon. They've been away on vacation because of the COVID. Pressing these. Oh, you know, I have that secret word I'm supposed to say. I think I'm going to be saying it real soon. And that's it. That's it. These bad boys are in. Giving it some rainbow bling to the backpack. Ooh. All right. So we're on page 7, and we finished, okay, when we're on page 7, we put the right sides together, we pressed everything, we turned the bags inside out. If you're using vinyl, don't press the seams open, and let's see, turn the bag things out, and top stitch, we're going to together, matching the 2 raw edges, and yeah, oh, we just did it kind of in reverse. Okay, and your exterior bag is finished. Now we're into the lining, and I when I first did this, the lining frustrated me because it just goes a little bit opposite. So with the lining, we have the zipper end that has to be done first. I know I just had that. We have the zipper end. There's a lot of pieces for the lining opposed to the exterior. So with the lining, if my lining piece wants to magically show up right now, hold on for 1 second. I can cut another piece, but I know you're around here. We're gonna have our 2 pockets, I mean not our 2 lining pieces that we're gonna have. This, I put this as the top for the exterior, for the inside. I know, my lining, like, there's always one piece that magically goes away. I can cut another piece, though. It'll be easy peasy lemon squeezy. And watch, as soon as I cut it, that's when it will show up. Let's see. Alright, so I have my zipper, and I'm going to grab a piece of this fabric real quick. 1 second. Okay. So it's perfect. Okay, so for the zipper piece, it's going to be, the zipper tab is going to be 3 inches by 2. So let me just measure this out real quick. And draw it out. as you see, I just grab a pin. I don't know, I've always used pins, so I guess I never really thought there was anything wrong with it. Alright, I did a 3x2 box. And then I'm just also going to draw the areas that I want to fold in. Alright, so on this you're going to, for the main one, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go underneath the tab a 1/2 inch, and then you're going to fold the raw seams in. So let me cut this out, and I promise you, as soon as I get up or something, it's going to appear. All right, and then so you're going to fold. You're going to have your little marks, and you're going to fold it in. And then you're going to fold. I'm using a 5 number zipper tape, so I'm going to make sure that it's in. I need like 1 1/4 for zipper tape allowance. I like to give this a really good press because I like to stick when I have this like this, I like to stick the zipper in between the 2 folds and collapse it over each other, if that makes sense, so that it kind of sandwiches it in. That, again, personal preference on that. And let me fold this in half. And I use a lot of steam, as you can hear. So, all right, so we're going to make a little box with this. And if you wanted to, you actually could put a rivet in the middle if you want the extra security, or you just like that design. I like rivets for design a lot of the times. And I stick a pin where I think Fred would disappoint me. I like to stick pins in where I think that like the little parts of the zipper would like to poke out, and I can have some kind of control of that and nothing shifts while you are sewing. So, and I start usually at a side and I just go from there. So I think we're making the Celine, and I think some of these wonderful people that are watching right now are waiting for the code word. Yes, swoon along. Swoon along is the code word. And if you have an owl or a purple thing or even a pin, I hate when any raw edges seem to want to poke out. So I usually take my time, stop, adjust it to what I like, and pivot. Swoon along. This is probably, next to the Annette, is my favorite bag. I feel like it's, all sewers can make this bag. if I can make it, you can make it kind of scenario. And then I feel like it has the endless possibilities for personal touches. All right, so now we're getting to the recess zipper, and I'm just going to get in all these threads in the back that got tangled up. So here's your zipper, and again, the zippers have to go in an angle. If you look on page 8, is it 8? Yes, page 8, you can see that they kind of go in a 90-degree angle, and I essentially did that, but I just hand sew it. It's 5 seconds. Yes, to win a prize, you need to know the code word swoon along. I don't know, it just makes my life easier. So what we're going to grab now are these little pieces that there were originally 10 by 1.5, and then you iron them in, or if you're using vinyl, you would like use DST, double-sided tape, and you tape them in. And we're going to be making these into a little sandwich. And this is where all your clips come in. You can use, if you're using woven, you can use pen, like, you know, regular pens. If you're using vinyl, definitely use Wonder Clips, and just sandwich your zipper in. And we're just going to ensure that the zipper tape is in between each layer without all these strings. Me and string. I mean, you can use the double-sided tape on the cotton. Again, it depends if your machine likes it or not. Some machines are like, it just gums up your needle. Okay. And then when we have all the clips in here, we're going to use a 1/4 of an inch seam. And take your time because you're going over the zipper, back stitch, adjust the fabric as needed. And see how clean that is when you just sew it? It just looks a little bit cleaner to me. So we're going to press this real quick. Hit it with a little bit of steam so it could be nice and crisp. And because it's woven, you can do it on the back too. If you're using vinyl, you can use a metal seam roller, or a plastic one, and you can just roll out the seams. We're going to now do a box at 1/8 of an inch all the way around, so it top stitches, but at the same time it just closes off all. It makes it one unit versus two separate, which helps incredibly when we get to the part where we do the recess zipper. Because I have had many times where I did not close it off, and then like one piece of the fabric got enclosed and the second half did not make it. 1/8 of an inch. I'm at a 2.5 still. So now it's just 1 unit, and we just do the same thing on the second one. You can do it where like this is like the black is solid black, like because my lining's all black except the top and is going to be the butterflies, but I just thought a little pop of color would be nice. And I just want to make sure that the zipper panels are lined up correctly before I unzip it and start pinning and sandwiching it. And all I do is, the reason why they have you do the zipper thing first is so that way your zipper won't fly off when you're working. And I just make sure the tape is in between each piece and I clip. And I clip some more. I'm a person that I like a lot of clips. It gives me feels like it's security. I don't know. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do this at 1/4 of an inch seam. I'm just going to adjust this down. And this is the part that is important because like right now I can see that it needs to be adjusted a little bit more down for the panels to be aligned. So I'm trying to make sure that this part aligns perfectly with this so that they're not like a 1/2 inch off or 1/8 of an inch off. And then putting the clip up here, and I'm just going to repin this real quick. I'm really meticulous about zippers being aligned, and my favorite zipper style is the recessed zipper. I've seen so many people make all these beautiful Annettes, and one day I was like, I had someone ask me if I could make the Annette with a recessed zipper, and I did. That's my favorite zipper closure. It's the only way I've actually made the Annette. I've never actually made the Annette without that modification. Like, this is weird because normally I would put a zipper pocket inside the lining, or like a mesh pocket to hold your cell phone. Always backstitch, and I always backstitch like 2 to 3 stitches. And I cannot believe I picked these scissors. Like, they're not my friend. They're not very sharp. What is your favorite scissors? Like, I go in between Kai or Ginger all the time. The word is so long for this one. There'll be a separate word for tomorrow. Kai. I've seen that they have like this pretty like turquoise green line this year, and I'm really kind of excited about getting that. I love color. That's why I got these, because they're like sparkly. As soon as I see glitter, You use Kai at work. Yeah. I have a pair of Kai. I have a black pair of dressmaking ones, but they're the short ones. I think they're like 6.5 or 7. But I can't seem to locate them right now. All right. So we have the zipper panels done. The same, tomorrow starts at 7 Eastern Standard Time. Don't know where. Yes, Kathy's absolutely right. The sew along code is swoon along for this particular one. Tomorrow will be a different code. All right, so on page 9, if you're following along, we are going to insert the recessed zipper. So what we're going to do, we're going to need these 2 panels and these. So you need to find your center of this, and you could do a small clip, or you could write, whatever is easier. Sometimes I clip, sometimes I draw. Finding your center will save you a lot. And I do the same thing. I'll fold this in half and clip. Same thing on this side. Just a small clip. It's just, you're doing like a small V where you can noticeably see the mark, and everyone else may not be able to. Just within your seam allowance. And I do the same thing for the lining pieces, because I like to have everything lining up as much as possible, because you're putting it in a recessed zipper and you don't want it to look, you know, a little wonky, or you don't want to get into the seam allowance of the gusset. All right. So we're going to take the first one, we're going to take your fabric and you're going to place this down. So you're going to take that area that you snipped right here. Remember, we just folded it in half and snipped it, and try to get rid of all this thread. And put it together with the middle part of this. See how there's room right here, because this is where our gusset is going to go on top of it. You're going to sew this at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. It's basically a good basting stitch, but back stitch, I did that wrong. Where is my seam ripper? I promise I have everything. I was supposed to put that the other direction. I apologize. I put it on the wrong side for me. Be one with your seam ripper, because your seam ripper will be one with you. I'm a fan of this. Someone gave me this seam ripper like 2 years ago, and it's like, it rips, but it also cuts the thread. I don't know. It's I don't even know where they got it from. It was in a gift exchange. See, I make mistakes all the time. You just have to be at peace with your seam ripper. The problem with vinyl is that it can perforate if you do it wrong. I mean, there's things you can do. You can like stabilize that area again, but there's already punctured holes. So you would have to try to get exactly where you place those holes before, so that way it doesn't rip and it stays stabilized. this is why cotton rules, because you can just use your little seam ripper and call it a day. It was supposed to be right side showing where this is, so that way you can see the zipper. I apologize for that. Let's see. 1/4. Line it up. And what you're going to do, I think where I looked at it wrong, was you're supposed to take this and have it going down, so that when it faces up, you see? Line everything up on this, and this should be able to go from panel to panel. And you're going to sew that at 1/4 of an inch as well. Back stitch. I like to back stitch like one time for good measure, not only at the beginning of the stitch, but whenever I do a recessed zipper, like before it has that shift, like from the recessed zipper, I'll just back stitch slightly on there so I can have just a little bit of reinforcement stitching. I mean, it's gonna get it because we're gonna top stitch this. So here's the raw edges, we're gonna top stitch it up. So make sure your seams are all pointing in the same directions. 1/8 of an inch top stitch. You can increase it to 3. I'm just going to stick at a 2.5 because this is going to be an area that gets a lot of use when someone's opening and closing the zipper. It's pretty cool. I love that. I'm really loving this fabric from Tula Paint. The first when I got it, I was like, oh, it's black. Nope. It's black with butterflies. Just measuring that again. One-fourth of an inch. And you can pin or be, you know, try to say you fill it out and you can keep everything in line. Clip those threads. Let's see, hold on. Let's see. All right, we're gonna put this piece on, and like I said, it should go from like seam to seam real easily. Swoon along. It's one word. It could be two. You could put write it as two, and you should be fine. And we're going to top stitch. We're going to have the seams going up. So we have the beginning. So we go to page 9. We're in the home stretch. We have like 3 pages left. We're going to do basically the same thing we did with the outside gusset. For the inside, we're going to do it at a 1/2 inch. Oh, I'm sorry, 3/4 of an inch. Pin the two sides together, and 3/4. I apologize, 3/4. Yeah, I love the fact that it's not a baggy lining. Like, that's huge for me. And we're going to trim the seam allowance down to about 1/8 of an inch. My trash can's on the opposite side. Now we have this, and here comes the fun part. We're going to have to leave a 6-inch opening on one of the sides, so that way we can turn the bag. So it's the same thing essentially. So we have our sides, except now we have the zipper pocket in our way. You can unzip it a little bit if it helps, and we're just clipping right sides together, and we're still using a 1/2 inch seam allowance for this. This one will be easier for you to mold because it has less interfacing. You'll be fine with it as long as you have it. Mark up your center marks. With the seam, for this particular bag, I like to actually put the 6-inch zipper, the 6-inch birthing hole on the sides, because I feel like there's already a seam, and I'm going to use a Wonder Clip to clip this zipper pull tag down so that way it doesn't get caught in here. I like to do a 6-inch, and I'll show you when I mark it with the chalk that I'll reinforce the areas that I'm going to, stitch, I'm going to birth the bag from, so that way there's no ripping or tearing. But I will actually use a side seam because there's already a seam on the bottom, and I just feel like that's a lot for a bag to go through to birth when there's so many seams. And again, that is purely personal preference. You can go from the bottom if it's easier because it's less visible, or you can go from the side, hand stitch, machine based, whatever. I don't know. It all depends on where the seams are for me. Because there's a center divider seam, I'm just want to keep that area as straightened as possible. Same thing, I'm just clipping raw edge to raw edge. And when I get to areas like this, I go as straight as possible. And then I use my thumbs and just push it in where that round part can just mold into the other raw edge without any real problem. And so it's like this, all clipped together. We're gonna go a 1/2 inch. Oh, Oh, I know. I actually ran out of interfacing, but it'll be fine. And I went to Joann's to look for it, but again, right now, I don't know. My Joann's had like hardly anything except glitter vinyl. I put black interfacing on the other side that I didn't have interfacing. So I had some Taylor's interfacing, so it's just black on the other side. I freaking steined it. I do that a lot. I'm frugal like that. And then I just stop with my needle down whenever there's an area that has a little bit of puckers, and I shift the bag around to keep the area taut. So one side is like completely white and the other side has this, I'm trying to get the name of that interfacing. I got it from Waywack. And it came in 2 colors, and I don't know why I picked black, but I think, oh, actually I remember. They didn't have white, so I just was like, whatever, nobody's going to notice. So, Frankenstein. Oh yeah, Mrs. I try to tell everyone, like, before I got the pleasure of meeting Mrs. H, her book, definitely, the kangaroo pocket alone is worth it enough. And she does her credit card slots completely different than I've seen anyone else do. Everyone has, different different methods, and I always like learning new methods. All right, we're one side down, and so what I'm going to do on this side, and try to cut the strings. See, one side completely white, the other side has half black, half white interfacing. I'm going to draw, she suggests a 6-inch hole for the lining. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the blue chalk right here. Let me flip it. So you can see it's going to be from here to here, where I'm going to do it on the side. So the bottom gusset stays, as preserved as possible when I'm birthing this bag. And this is because of, I think a lot of people want to use a smaller birthing hole, and I completely understand that. But sometimes having a bigger birthing hole allows the birthing process to be easier, and therefore you'll get less wrinkles in your bag and just less of a headache. And if you add a interior pocket with an interior zipper pocket or interior slip pocket, you can just cover up that hole, that birthing hole, fairly easy. So I'm going to stop it there and here. But yeah, I don't know. I just actually prefer it in the sides, because I think people look more in the bottom of their bag than they do on the sides. But that's just my wacky train of thought. Let's see. Just kneading this to make sure it becomes raw edge with raw edge, and just working this in. It wants to go, it wants to do this gusset, so it's about whatever can make it easier. I thought I clipped you down. Apparently you do not want to clip. Try to keep your tail from the zipper pull out of the way so that it doesn't get caught up in the seam allowance of sewing. Yeah, it's a really good book. You like the sides too? Okay, I thought it was just me because I always see, I'll binge different bag designers and bag makers from all over the world, and I love to see their different methods. And I feel like the sides no one will see. And I'm also that weird person that I like to hand sew my the closures closed with like a slip stitch, so it's an invisible stitch or a ladder stitch. I find hand sewing soothing. That's why I sew my zippers. Hand sew them. It actually just made it easier because if you look in the instructions on how they do the zippers, you have to do it at this weird 90-degree angle, and I'm like, how do you... I tried it and it was not computing with me. All right, so I'm going to start on the side where, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to start on this side. I'm going to stop and start in that area and you'll see the birthing hole. Again, it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance back stitch of you. And for good measure, if you feel like an area needs strength or needs that extra stitch, back stitch. It's the lining. And if you have coordinating color threads, no one's going to see it. But that extra security may make you feel better about the bag. I was actually going to use waterproof canvas too. Not waterproof canvas, waxed cotton. But with waxed cotton, you can't iron it. So when you're doing interfacing, you have to do all your interfacing for the lining of the bag. And I was like, well, that might confuse everybody. I'm going to go back over the seam, back stitch over the seam for the gusset, just for good measure. And because it was this beautiful maroon color, and it was made from this person that he waxes the canvas, waxes the cotton or corduroy from beeswax, and it is some of the most stunning fabric I've ever seen. I'll do a couple roll of stitches for the areas that I'm going to birth a hole through, because I just want it to go like really smoothly without the bag trying to come up like pull or tear. All right. Cut threads, cut threads. So we have the hole right here, and we're getting really close. We only have to do the closures, and that's with these and these. So you take 1-inch straps, you interface them, and then you fold them onto each other and make a 1/2 strap. Then you use 1/2 inch hardware, which is on page 11, and you slide this in, and you're going to keep these raw edges together, and you're going to do a 1/8 of an inch box. And just take your time. If your thread, if your thread matches your fabric, your stitches will be perfect. If you want it contrasting, which I am a huge fan of contrasting fabric, contrasting thread to your fabric, I say go for it. Like, again, if I had purple top thread, I most likely would have done that for this. And you're going to repeat this step for the D-ring. I think this is one of the coolest features too, because when you're not using it to keep the bag into the alternate shape, it can hold your mailbox keys, or you can clip hand sanitizer to the other one. I like that feature a lot. 1/8 of an inch and just back stitch. If you had, if you wanted to, you can add a small rivet there too for extra security, or just for cosmetics reasons because you like the way it looks. And they have so many different kind of rivets too, like, out there right now. So you have these two beauties, and what we're going to do is on the inside of the gussets. Let me take this clip off now. Inside of the gussets, you're going to find your center, and I'm going to do a small clip, no more than, find your center, put seam to seam together, and you're going to tack this each one down at 1/4 of an inch, and you can do a couple of stitches if it makes you feel secure. And just to give, I don't know, anything that hangs, I just like to give that extra little bit of security. Couple back stitches, strengthen that area. So you have your little back stitches. And you do the same on the other side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the main bag. If you had to put a pocket in here, I would tell you to put it on the opposite side of this pocket. But since there's no pocket, you just got to figure out which way you want your zipper to open and close. Some people like it from left to right, other people like it from right to left. It all depends on, again, personal preferences. And somebody may think the zipper part of the bag is a bag. It's depends on the person. And what we're doing now is we're basically putting right seams together. I like to clip seam to seam first, and I like to tuck in hardware, and I will line up seam to seam. Yeah, one can leave an opening on the side. No, if you're going to do it through if you're going to do the pocket method, I usually leave a opening at the bottom of the bag. You can try it on the side. I have yet to do it that way. I prefer if there's like the Devon, when I did the sew along, it has no interior pocket. So I did a side seam. If a bag calls for no interior like slip pocket or zipper pocket, what I usually do is I do a side seam so nobody can, when they look inside the bag, there's no, basically there's no, you can't, my seam is invisible, like, and now I'm just like tucking and pulling to make sure that all the raw edges line up right. I feel like this to me is the most important step. I cannot begin to tell you how many times I've actually put a bag together and one area was like 1/8 of an inch off and it could just look a little wonky. Use as many or as few clips as you feel you need. If you have a domestic machine, a free arm is awesome right here because it just, I don't know, it works out way better. And you're just clipping and molding. When I first made this bag, I made the lining and the exterior the same size, and it fit perfectly when I was lining everything up, but then it was really baggy in the inside, and I was like, oh, no. You're just going around pinning, pulling, molding. I guess for me, I like, the reason why I personally like pinning a lot is because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it provides less shifting, and you're so close to being done that this is a pivotal step to make sure. And you see, I'm just like molding. Think of it like pizza dough or Play-Doh, clay, that you have to just literally move it around because you have interfacings that don't want to budge, and you have areas that have lighter interfacings that are more susceptible to shifting. I actually have made a Celine and all Decaville heavy and light before, and that was an interesting experience. Thank you, Tammy. Tammy's always on it. I was just telling them earlier, Tammy, that I used Auto Coat because of you today. You guys can hear the water in the house. There's kids, so if you hear them, they're kids. All right, so it's all clipped all the way around, and this is part of the battle. So we have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. There are some pretty big curves. This is, again, key reason why I say cut out your interfacing for if you're using structure exactly a 1/2 inch away, because it can be your perfect guide. If you don't want to do that, I get out a ruler and I'll do little tick marks and then connect all the tick marks and have exactly a 1/2 inch. I am not afraid to say I will cheat with drawing out a stitch line throughout my lining because nobody will see it. But you will have great results. Because I do backstitch, I usually tend to start at a seam first. I don't increase this stitch. I keep it at the 2.5, and I'll crease it for the top stitching. Here we go. And don't forget to breathe. That's the most important part. And if you're having a problem and you're like, okay, this curve is big, you can stop, adjust the fabric, catch your breath and keep going, because you got this. No puckers below the needle. That is the key. And remove pins or wonder clips so you don't sew over them. Just one at a time. And it's not a race. And again, breathe. And don't clench your jaw. I don't know why I do that. That is like the weirdest habit. Like, I don't know if I think it's going to prevent it from puckering. Oh, I can't wait too. I think it's going to be really pretty. I got this fabric from Springwater Designs, my quilt shop here in Maryland, in February, and I was like, I've never seen this Tula Pink. And she normally doesn't carry Tula Pink. Very weird shop. Like, I went in there a few days ago and I was like, hey, do you have Allison Glass? And she was like, who? I'm like, okay. So now I'll get fabric from online fabric shops, quilt shops, Etsy, like a couple. There's some great Facebook ones out there. And I always sometimes lift up the fabric just to make sure that both pieces of fabric are on top of each other. One's not lapping, and this is the fun part. I love the shape of this bag too. And it's big enough, I was able to carry my iPad Air in this. And I think I've carried a 14-inch notebook. It's a nice size bag. But I'm a sucker for big bags too. And I'm always feel for your hardware. Because remember, the hardware starts only 3/4 of an inch down, and your seam allowance for this is a 1/2 inch. So just make sure that hardware is flipped down. We're almost there. I like unique shapes of bags too. I think that's why I gravitate to this one in the Annette. I like the Vivian too. That's one that I want to make. All right. All right. So we're going to trim down the seams to 1/4 of an inch. So before I do that, I just usually go around to make sure all the lining and all the exteriors, like, you know, sewn together, and start trimming. I think that's also nerve-wracking. You're like, wait, I just put all this stuff together. I don't want to trim it. These are not the best scissors. I got them for glitter, and that's what happens when you get something just for beauty. And that's the reason why they also say to base the straps that we connected with the 1/2 inch rings at 1/4 of an inch. Because if you do it right at the top, you'll cut off the stitching that you made, the back stitching. So when you're making this, just keep that in mind that, hey, I got to make sure I base that at 1/4 of an inch so that it can have that double roll of, you know, stitching. Sorry, this is rough chopping. I'm having, these scissors are not my friend today. Let's see. All right, so we birth. We find our hole. And I like to just take the bottom of the bag and just kind of work it. You can, this is where you can use, if you have woven fabrics, you can steam. If you hit it with a few things of steam, it makes whatever interfacings more pliable, more mushy. And if you have a boning tool, which I thought I had one right here, I'm just batting 1000 with it. You start rounding it in the corners so that you can get them, you know, to peek out as much as possible. I mean, you could do it with a pen or a pair of blunt scissors too. And you just roll these seams. Man, I have strings galore. I thought I cut and trimmed good, but apparently... Alright. So, after a hard press, this bag's gonna be gorgeous. So, you want to, that's probably why I also like the side seam for this bag, is because when you get into the sides, you can just, it's easier to poke out, stick your hand in and just poke out the corners. Because this bag has such a unique shape. It's definitely in a league of its own. All right, another straight thread. So, before I top stitch this, I am going to press it. And if you have a ham or something that can help you, like, go around the curves and use it, it does help tremendously. If not, you know, just use your, like, the corner of your ironing board and go from there. I do believe pressing in every step can make a world of difference in your bag. I know pressing is tedious, but if you do it, I feel like, I don't know, when I first started making any costumes or quilts, and because my grandmother always had me pressing in her shop, I hated pressing. But now that I'm older, I realize how much pressing helps. I mean, there's even tools to, you know, do seams for leather and vinyl. They have like iron rollers to press out the seams for wax canvas to give it like a better look and feel. All right. So we have this really pretty bag, and now we have to top stitch it. So I'm going to move this to a 3, and what I'm going to do is turn the bag inside out. This is how I top stitch. I always turn the bag inside out. And therefore, when I'm top stitching, I'm not relying on the bottom to see what I'm doing. Bobbin. This is, make sure that your bobbin thread and matches your lining, and this is how I top stitch. Thank you so much. You can either do, you can do 1/8. I'm a fan of 1/8. I'm also a fan of 1/4. I say whatever you feel more comfortable with. I'm gonna do a 3.5 because I like a longer stitch for top, because it's a little bit thicker, because you're working with a lot more fabric layers. And remember, you have that strap, so when you get to the strap, just tuck it towards the lining and just sew a little bit slower, because you're sewing through like what, 12 layers opposed to 4 at this point for that one little strip, and it's not that big. It's only a 1/2 inch. I'm glad I went with the iridescent hardware, because I was really gonna go for all black. And I mean, the reason why I say this bag has endless possibilities, you could, like I said, have a mesh pocket in here this could be a cool diaper bag. You can have a mesh pocket in here to divide it up and have some diapers. This could be a cool commuter's tote, so you can do a center divider pocket and have it where you can divide to have your phone and software. It could be a million different things. It all depends on how you want to do it. You cannot do the pocket on the outside and have 2 just like back panels and have all the cool pockets or kangaroo pocket, credit card slot, and everything in the inside. And let's see, tuck this other tab over. And just, like I said, breathe. And don't be afraid to smush your bag. I think that's I see people afraid to smush it. If your, one of your little corners starts collapsing while you're doing this because you are smushing it, just grab a pen and just gently pull it out. I usually have one of those big quilting pins with the pearls handle on it. I don't know. That's like my favorite sewing tool. Let's see. Yes, the possibilities are endless. You can do it. You could do whatever your heart desires. You could do both, like you said, both panels having zippers. You could probably do something where just trying to make sure no puckers. You could probably do something where, like, it would be cool if you did a binding on a mesh pocket and put it over the back panel, and the bottom could be caught up in the seams, and it could be like an easy thing where you can throw your iPod or something in there and have it You're able to listen to it. You can put a grommet in it so the headphones can go through and your iPod could be inside. There's a million possibilities. Oh, you know, while I'm here, I can close up this hole. Oh, when I close up a hole, I just like to pull like really taut and then stick a couple wonder clips, pins, whatever you have. I have a combination of both. It all depends on what I could find right in access to and what's not hiding in my basement. I usually don't even close it up until after I put my handles on. And if your thread's matching, no one's going to see it in the side. You can even add like a cute like fabric tag in the side if you wish. Like made just for you, or your business name tags. It could be a lot of different things. And I will give this a good press later on, but right now we're gonna put these do these handles, and that's a wrap, guys. We did it. This definitely needs a good press. It's been through lots of turning with me, but I think this is super cool. And then what you do with these is you clip them together if you want your bag to have a different shape, and it gives it this shape. It like brings it together. Sorry, I'm trying to. It definitely needs a press. It gives it like a really cool heart shape. I like when a bag can have different functions. And then on top of it, if you don't want that shape, and you're like, hey, I like this. It turned out here, this can be attached to your keys or your key card to go into work. All right, so we have this all squared away. Put this right here. We have the handles. So handles to me are weird because like this one calls for an 18-inch, and that's I'm a plus size woman, so like this it's not gonna go right here. So you can adjust your handles to what you see fit. For the sake of this, I'm going to do it for the exact 18-inch. And then what you do is you fold it in a 1/2 inch. And I like to just like cut off the little edges right here so that way they don't poke out. There's a way you can do it. Like you can fold it into itself backwards and sew back and forth this way, and when you flip it, it has a clean finish. You fold it, you press it, and you have this beautiful strap. And then you just do the 1/8 of an inch box. Or if you want to start experimenting with leather or vinyl, you can say, hey, I'm going to find this purple, or I'm going to get black leather things, and you can use leather and then rivet it on. There's, again, a lot of different options. You can add a side tab here, and it could be a crossbody. Or you can add a crossbody strap. You can clip it on here if it has a swivel clip, and do it on the other side, and it's still crossbody. And now it's even more secure because it's into your body closed. So a lot of different, thank you, a lot of different steps. I think I got my shirt off Amazon. Amazon and me, I have a bad no, either Amazon, yeah, I think it was Amazon. Amazon, and there's this really cool shop like place in the mall. And yeah, you can do it in one continuous strip if it's vinyl, because you can have raw edges exposed, or you can do end caps like Emmeline bags and a lot of other bag hardware places have end caps where you can have a raw edge and you could just clasp it to the ends and not have to worry about having a fold over closure. But for me, 18 inches, because I'm plus size, is not a good ideal thing for a tote bag. I like to have my tote bags go over my shoulder. So I go anywhere from 26 inches to 28, so that way I can have it at my shoulder. I'm not, for me, I don't like bags to hold them right here unless it's like for a special function, and then I wouldn't be bringing a tote bag. So that's again a personal preference, because I've seen people, my sister actually is the person that loves carrying bags right here in the nook of her arm. That's her favorite. And these straps come together beautifully. You can adjust them to what you see fit. What I tell people to do, and they're like, hey, I'm not too sure what size I should get. If you have a measuring tape, you can hang it down on a bag and you can clip it and to see what you're comfortable with. Or if you have a client, if they have a measuring tape or a piece of paper, you can tell them to cut out like a 30-inch piece of paper and have it go over their arm. And they're like, oh, it's too long. Well, let's cut it to 28. And it can give you a gauge to see if this person wants it over their shoulder or if they want it just in the nook of their arm. Because I'm a person that I like to have it over my shoulder. Okay, so the bag I made a Wonder Woman bag, and that's the one. It's a net. And no, I most likely will gift this, or I'll put it in my Etsy shop, because I'm so sorry. I guess we went over our time, but we're almost done. So yeah. So I'm just finishing up this last strap, and I'm a person that likes to rivet my straps in place. I apologize that it went off. I guess I was not paying attention to the time. I apologize. Let's see. I apologize. Is it frozen? Is it back on? I don't know if it's, I'm not hoping it's the internet. Hold on. I'm so sorry. I don't know if it went over. I know somebody was telling me that Facebook has a thing with a 3.5 hour time. So I don't know if that's what happened. So let's see. I think for this bag, I think black leather straps would be. I keep dropping everything. Black leather straps would be really nice, or vinyl if someone prefers no leather, would be perfect, because it will just pop out the bag. I'm not going to rivet these on because I'm not 100% sure if I want, I mean, it could fit, but I feel like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I wonder if it's my internet. Are you able to see me okay and hear me, or did it go out again? Okay, so I don't know. I mean, this is a super cute bag. I think once it gets pressed out, it's super cute. But this is pretty much the gist. The shape of this bag is nice. You can see that it has some structure, not a lot. And I'm so sorry when I don't know if it's my area or what's going on. I truly do apologize. Thank you. Yeah, I think this is a cute bag. This is I feel like this Celine is, I don't know, it's definitely a great personality. And this is with the 18-inch strap. I mean, you could definitely do this. You can add a crossbody and you're good to go. Does anyone have any questions for me that I can answer? Thank you. If you have any questions and it just hasn't come to you yet, feel free to leave a message in this comment section. Either myself or one of the other admins will definitely answer it. Again, tonight's code word is swoon, SWOON, along, ALONG. Oh, actually, I didn't put any back feet on this. You could put back feet on it though. It wasn't in the description. I wanted to stay to the pattern without any modifications, so that way you can see how to put it in the gusset, and that hopefully you guys are flooding the wall with Celine's, because this is one of my favorite bags. Oh yeah, I could definitely hold it up. So we have, I just clipped these there. I haven't put the rivets in because I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to keep these rivets or if I'm going to use like a vinyl or I definitely need to press this. A vinyl or hold on, let me close this up. A vinyl or a leather. And it has the nice big zipper pull. And then because of how you do the zipper pockets, it's a clean finish. There's no zipper tape showing. And I feel like if you're gonna gift a bag or even sell a bag, have the zippers clean where you're not seeing the zipper tape. That's very important. I wanted to stay try and true, so I showed you hand sewing the zippers. Thank you. Oh my, definitely get the pattern. All the patterns are in the link. It's a fun bag. And like I said, you can put purse feet on it. You can add side things, side connectors, so that way you can have it as a crossbody. You can put divider pockets in it, mesh pockets. The possibilities of this bag are completely and utterly endless. If you look up my name and you see my Celine's, I turn them into superheroes. So I have a Captain America, I have a Captain Marvel, and it's my favorite bag to make, other than the Annette. Oh, thanks. I like the outside pocket too. The outside pockets, it's a great feature because you can just stick your cell phone in it or your keys or candy, I don't know, and just have fun. And the lining is clean, no zipper tape is exposed, and it just is top-notch classy all the way. And you can have a lot of fun with this. And like I said, if you want to adjust where it's like a shoulder strap, do some measuring, or grab your favorite bag that's a shoulder bag and measure the handles from, and then add on a 1/2 inch to 1 inch for the seam allowance. The Celine is wonderful. Does anyone have any questions for me? I'll be more than willing to answer them. And I'm sorry for the 2 freezes. I didn't know that was going to happen. If there's no questions, tomorrow you guys seen me do the Dorian. tomorrow we're going to do it with some modifications that's in Mrs. H's Masterclass book. We're going to turn the Dorian from being just a crossbody bag, where it could be worn as a crossbody, to a backpack. And Backstitch, they sponsored us, and they gave me and Monica really awesome fabric, and I want to say thank you so much, Backstitch. And I'm using this one, and it's like a prickly cactus, and it's super cute. And I used waterproof Coat to make sure that it's water resistant, because I figure if someone's going to use this for their device or a Nintendo Switch, this is the reason why I wanted to mesh up this bag. And I'm thankful for Miss H for allowing me to use her bag and take out the Dorian out of retirement, is because everybody has a Nintendo Switch right now, and I figured this would be a perfect bag to have fun and modify with for this game console, or for a person that commutes that has an iPad Air, or just if you want to grab and go and or if you're a grandparent and the grandkids are coming to visit. These could be great bags that the parents could take, stuff their clothes and their toys in, and take it and go. I feel like the Dorian is a great, perfect bag. The only thing it was missing is that it wasn't a backpack. So tomorrow we will be doing that, and there'll be a special code, and go over all the rules. And there's 3 different prizes. One for the code tonight, Swoon Along. There'll be a code tomorrow, and then for the people that sew. Yes, actually I did. I have a friend who recently did some Coat too, and she told me she interfaced it first, because when you do it, you have to apply 1 or 2 layers, and then you do parchment paper, and you iron it to seal it and cure it. And I was like, she's like, the only thing I recommend is to do your interfacing first. So I did a very lightweight interface. I did Decoville Light. I feel like this bag can be pliable and waterproof. No problem. If you, again, any questions, please message. You can message me, message Swoon Team, and we'll be more than willing to answer them, or leave questions in the comment section and we'll answer them. If there's nothing else, then I wish you guys a good night, and me and Monica will see you tomorrow, and we should have some fun. I use everything. For the Tonya, I use my brother's sewing machine, domestic. I have 2 Jukies. I have my serger is a Bernina. Yes, a Bernina, and my cover stitch is a Janome. I got Coat on Amazon. If you look at Tammy's video, she has like a list of everything that her must-have list, and I got it actually following her information. I went on there and I found it, and I think it's like $11 or $12, and I was like, oh my god, it's so small. But I've already waterproofed like 6 things, and it's still like 3/4 of a jar full. So I'm excited about this. You're welcome so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Stay safe, and if you have the Dorian, prep it so we can have some fun tomorrow, and we'll tell you everything you're going to need. In the morning, it's just a couple pieces of hardware, but it makes all the difference in the world. All right? I hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic night, and thank you for going on this ride with me. Bye.